Hi everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. I'm going to talk about something that in most people's minds is outdated. As a matter of fact, nobody's even talking about it. Over the past 20 years or so, the word really hasn't come up. Parents don't talk about it, schools don't talk about it, teachers don't talk about it, and in some cases, churches don't talk about it either. And it's the word abstinence. If you don't know what abstinence is, well, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not used in common everyday conversation anymore. It's the whole idea of refraining yourself from doing something. And I am specifically thinking about sex in this case. And the reason I say that is because the idea of abstinence in these days is laughable. It was even on a talk show. So what is the most effective birth control? And the expert on the show said abstinence, and everybody had a good laugh about it, as if, yeah, right, that's going to happen. See, people have the idea that they're going to have sex anyway. There's nothing we can do about it, so let's encourage it. As a matter of fact, there are some psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever, who will say if you don't explore your sexuality and go after the things you want sexually, you are damaging your psyche, you are damaging yourself, and it's unhealthy to do that. It's unhealthy to abstain. Unfortunately, these people have gone so far away from the truth about abstinence that they don't even have a concept of it anymore. That's one of the reasons it's not taught. Parents don't teach it because there's a lot of single parents who want sex but can't tell their children not to have it if they are not abstaining themselves. So they look like hypocrites. So instead of encouraging their children to wait until they're married, they just say, well, be safe. Well, there is so many problems with that. Being abstinent is not an outdated idea. It didn't fail like some people had said. There are experts that say abstinence education has failed. Abstinence didn't fail. People failed to be abstinent. If you don't refrain or abstain yourself from doing things, then the idea didn't fail, you failed. You decided to do whatever you wanted. So abstaining is a good thing, it's a blessing. And God tells us to do that for very specific reasons. Well, first of all, if you are a child of God, He tells you to do that because He says it causes problems. If you read through you can even watch a talk show, a court show these days, and you can see all kinds of people who have had sex before marriage, had children, and now there's all kinds of problems. And they have several children to several different people, and they're fighting over custody of them, or they're fighting over who owes what for that child, who owes the child support, who doesn't. And there's also the spreading of venereal diseases. You know, if you don't have sex, you won't get a sexually transmitted disease. It's common sense, or at least you think it would be, to just go ahead and say, be safe. Well, those safety measures don't always work. Some say, well, they're 99%. Well, you know how many people have children out of wedlock, who have unwanted pregnancies, who have abortions? You know how many children are in adoption centers because people refuse to abstain? They want their sin more than they want what's best for them. And I've always held to the idea that if you are not ready for children, you are not ready for sex. And the only time you're really ready for children is if you are committed to another person in marriage and you are planning to raise that child together. That is the best thing for a child. And psychologists and psychiatrists, agree with that. A two-parent home is the best thing for a child. When those two parents are loving and caring for each other, they are going to be loving and caring for the child. And if people would abstain from sex, we wouldn't have such a debate over adoption and abortion. So, abstinence works if you are abstinent. If you just exhibit self-control. Teach yourself to control yourself. Teach your children to control themselves. Encourage it because it alleviates problems down the road. I know there are some people, they've had all the sex and no children, and they didn't get it. Well, they're one of the very few. It rarely happens. But there's also emotional complications, relationship complications. There are people who will treat the opposite sex like a sex object instead of a human being. There's all kinds of other things that I don't have time to go into. But abstinence didn't fail. We failed to be abstinent. And it's time to turn that around. You can say, right now I am choosing to control myself, and I will save myself for the person who marries me and the person that I marry. And when you do that, you do it God's way, many blessings come. Otherwise, all you get is the consequence of sin. This has been 5 Minute Ministries, and I'll see you next time.